I've been out running around and doing errands this morning. Have you left yet today? Have you gone out and...
No, I didn't have anywhere that I needed to go.
Oh, okay. I took the kids over to go look at the outside of the house to see how it's coming along. And it's coming along. I'm hoping that by the end of today, they'll have the whole front of the house sided. That would be my hope, my goal.
Your goal?
Well, it's not like I have any control over it, but I can't help it. I've been a manager my whole adult life. I've been a manager. It's really hard for me not to, it's very difficult for me to step back and just let people do their thing. Some people were saying, well, isn't Drupad or the workers annoyed that you're going there and doing these videos? No, we arranged that from the very beginning. We said that if we're doing this house, this will be part of a YouTube series where I'll need to go and ask questions and check in. So that's not a surprise to them.
Otherwise, I think that would be extremely annoying if we hadn't had that prearranged and we were just going in all the time, but they knew.
Yeah, this is, we've got a whole bunch of folks at home watching and wanting to see what's going on,
and that's
too.
good for them, too, because that's their business.
Yeah, and we're trying to do our part to help people find Drupad and his company and Dpad Homes and on YouTube now. So the house is taking shape for sure. In fact, I was over at the house today, and on this chat, we're going to talk about a few things. One, I'm talking about the house. We're going to talk about how things are progressing with my new brother, Steve, and then we'll roll into what happened with the truck crash from the other day. So we'll try and keep you guys up to date. But with the house, went over there this morning mainly because I wanted to get a picture of the interior garage wall. The reason why I wanted to do that is that I actually worked with a fellow years ago. We were both managers at Target together. He now has a company that does garage custom cabinetry. He also does those like epoxy kind of floors, which I think are really cool, but I don't want to be spending the money on that right now. Mm-hmm. But I do want to get some nice cabinetry in because I think an organized shop is important. So we're going to meet over there on Thursday. Maybe I'll see if he'll agree to be on camera, and we'll do a little update there about talking about garage cabinetry and what to look for and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to go take a picture of the garage so we can try and figure that out. And while I was there, the siders were there working today. It's Sunday today. The drywall guys took the day off, but the siders were there, and it is all coming along. Teresa sent $5 for some squirrel food for Abigail. I don't know if she'll like the taste of it, but sure, I'll go buy some squirrel food for Abigail.
Thank you.
I guess that would just be like walnuts and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I'm assuming that's food for Abigail to give to the squirrels, of course. But yeah, she is very much looking forward to. I would say the kids are. It's almost like having a vacation when we go visit our property. Like it's like being on a field trip. That's how it feels like when we go to our backyard. It feels like it's a vacation, like a field trip. And the kids just love it back there. So the first thing they do is they hightail it to the back and try and feed the animal. Well, the boys were having a snowball fight. When are you putting your vlog out?
I'm trying to edit it today. It's having a problem getting from my phone onto my computer. I waited so long and then it said couldn't happen.
Oh, Melissa has a vlog that she's putting out on her channel soon, but it kind of shows what the kids were up to and some behind the scenes stuff there. So
it's from yesterday and the day before. It's a little all over the place, but I'm still going to put it out because otherwise we're going to have another no video. But it was pretty fun. We had a lot of fun, so I wanted to take you guys along.
But we had fun out there.
Yeah, it was fun.
And the weather's been really nice. It's the snow has been melting. In fact, it was raining today. It was 7 degrees according to the thermostat on Melissa's car.
Yeah, yesterday or today?
Today.
Yeah, good.
It said it was 7 today. But what our city did that I was not happy about is that they graded down to the pavement, which sounds good. You'd be like, yeah, they took the snow down to the pavement. That's great. But they didn't take the snow away. They put it all over the residential street parking, and they put the road down to single lane. So now, instead of having 2 lanes with parking on either side, we have 1.5 lanes. So you have to pull over and let people pass.
And 0 street parking.
And there's no parking. And they blocked all the drains and they covered the sidewalk. So
now we have flooding in front of all of our houses.
So myself and all of our neighbors have been out there desperately trying to get the sidewalks cleared, because even though the city is the one that created that problem, they will give you a ticket if you don't clear it. So we went from having perfectly cleared sidewalks a few days ago to now it's giant icy puddles all over the place. I've been trying to build like a river system, which I have to say is kind of satisfying when you take we have like these ice pick sort of shovels. If you live in a cold environment, you have two things usually around. You have a shovel and you have like an ice scraper, and it's a big metal thing on the end of a stick. Anyway,
looks like a hoe with no curve.
Our street is full of hoes.
Wow.
all the guys are out there with their hose this morning on the sidewalk.
Oh my goodness.
Listen, I'm not saying anything that's not true. Oh, I better put a bed in that new garage of mine because I think I might be sleeping out there. Maybe that's why I got the Volkswagen van, my doghouse on wheels. But all of us guys were out there this morning chipping away. And I will say, Jason and Abigail were a big help yesterday getting the helping me to clear the sidewalks. And we got it all down to cement, down to pavement again. And then it flooded again last night, and so I had to go back out and do it all over again.
Oh, gosh.
But I wrote the city councilor and let them know just how happy I was with their decision to basically make our road impassable with no parking.
I celebrated you guys. When I first saw that grader coming down, I was like, yes, finally they're going to get rid of all, because there was little bits of snow on the side, and I thought they're going to take care of all that. I was wrong. I prematurely celebrated.
Because we have a few
vehicles. You have a vehicle, I have a vehicle, and then Steven. And then there's no room to park in the garage at our current house.
Well, there's no room really. The garage in our house that we have right now is fine for a car. It's supposed to be a 2-car garage, but the reality of it is that if you put 2 cars in there, you can't really open and close the doors. It's not big enough for 2 cars.
And it's not big vehicles, like just Steven's vehicle, and then the other car in the garage should take up barely any space. But Alexander couldn't get through the driver's side. He had to not only go to the passenger side to get out when he parked Steven's car in the garage, but then he had to like squeak against the wall. Like, that's not normal.
That's a big part. Gail Johnson says she's excited about the new house too. Is the whole family ready for a lot more chores to help with the upkeep of that beautiful big home? I think you were saying about the size.
Yeah, my computer keeps not being connected to the internet.
Oh.
I think that it's not the main part of the house. It looks a lot bigger because we did much higher ceilings, but space cleaning wise, it's not a lot more cleaning. And lucky for me, I'm not in charge of the cleaning of the house. Our family works as a whole unit, and we all take care of the house. So I might take care of more of the meals because you don't get home until 6 o'clock.
Yeah, sometimes I bring food home.
But with all of the cleaning and stuff, though, that's our entire family. That's not just me. So I don't have to worry about any of that because everybody helps out.
We all help out, yeah.
It's not going to be that much more cleaning. I mean, most of the space is like stuff that the pantry and the laundry room, which I just give a wipe down while I'm in there.
And it's all hard floor surfaces mainly. Hello, Kathy. Nice to see you on. Kathy Cash is here. Little does Kathy know that I was earlier today at Old Navy, and they have several Johnny Cash t-shirts, and we were debating which one Jason should get. At the end, he ended up getting with a mountain scene, so I might have to go back and represent by getting a Johnny Cash t-shirt for myself at some point. I was surprised Old Navy had them, but they were just cool graphics on it.
Sherry said, please put out a video to how to train your family into helping. You know what, it's funny because I don't know if I did a video that I actually showed.
No, I think
it's not training. I think that it's just, from the very beginning, we told our kids that it was important to work as a family unit, and there's things that we do as a family to make sure that our house runs well. And
Hudson Vintage, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Says their new sub, they specialize in jewelry for 25 years. Nice to see another lifer who's so nice. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and nice to have you with us too. If you like jewelry and you just joined, you'll have to go back and watch the Musician's House series. It will knock your socks off, the stuff that came out of that. Kathy says she didn't know that they had the t-shirts at Old Navy. Yep, they've got Johnny Cash t-shirts at Old Navy right now in the graphic t-shirt section. What were we talking about? We were talking about cleaning the house. We didn't have to train the kids. I think it initially started.
Well, it's not about training. It's just having expectations.
That's the right way to put it. Yeah,
it's that I never did everything on my own because I didn't want to set myself up to look back and be like, oh, I'm doing this all on my own. So.
But if the kids always help out, then they just know that's what you do. You just help out.
Yeah, it's not that they're helping out. It's not like they're like, I'm helping mom today. They see the job and they're like, this job needs to be done. They don't see it as helping me. They see it as, this is what needs to be done, and they just do it. Sometimes they are kids at the end of the day. Sometimes they need a mom reminder or a dad reminder.
Yeah.
They're more than happy to not do it. They're gonna test their kids.
Where the room looks good, and then you open the closet door and it falls out, and thump.
And they always know there's always complete silence as you're reaching for the door handle.
Yeah. So is your room clean? Yeah, it's all clean. Okay, so if I open your closet, oh, okay, well maybe don't go in there. I might like, oh, why? What's gonna happen when I open the closet? Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But they're really good though, and they do also get allowance for helping out to clean washrooms and to clean up around the house once a week too. So
yeah.
Between all of us, now when it gets to the point where it's just Melissa and I in the house, yeah, that'll be a little bit more work, but there'll be less of us making a mess. So hopefully it'll balance itself off. We'll have our little caves that we go into, I guess, our little areas, the office, the kitchen, the living room, and stuff that we'll just.
For me, I did find it overwhelming before I figured out how to get into a routine. That while I'm doing something, say I'm cooking and waiting for something to finish, I'll do the dishes at that time because I would wait before. I don't know what I was waiting for to have a grand finale of mess. But if you do find little pockets of time and you get stuff done in those little pockets, then you have much less work at the end. For your poor injured back.
Thank you, Spurmarks, for the super chat.
Did you tell them about you?
No, so I guess I'll go into the truck conversation and then I'll end kind of talking about my new brother Steven. So I was saying that I was driving Melissa's vehicle the other day and it showed it was 7 degrees. The reason I'm driving Melissa's vehicle because it has a functioning driver's door, which is a big bonus when you're in a vehicle. I should say I can open my driver's door on the truck to get out, but if I want back in, I have to go in through the passenger door. Like it'll close and latch, but the exterior door handle doesn't work anymore because it's been pushed in a good probably 8 inches. It's pushed in pretty far on the side. So if you didn't see my little update I did the other day, I had taken the truck we actually picked up a motorcycle, dropped off my friend Harry, who's actually going to restore it and then I think sell it back to me. I talked to him just before this live chat. Thank you, Emily, very much for the super chat. I talked to him just before the live feed and he's like, what type of gas tank would you like on it? What type of fenders would you like? So I think he is thinking he's going to get it ready for me, which is nice. I said, Harry, I'm not going to spend the money you gave me for the bike. I'm just going to keep it and I'll just give it back to you and add to it when we figure out a purchase price for that bike back again. But it will be a nice bike. Just wait until you guys see it when it's all restored. I think that would be a cool thing. But anyway, I got back. I was like, well, you know what? Before I park the truck, I'm going to take it to the car wash because I didn't want it to be all dirty and I don't want to get rusty because it's a rust-free, dent-free truck. It was a minty truck. So I took it to the car wash, stopped to get Wendy's for Steven and I for lunch, and was on my way out of the parking lot and somebody smashed into me. Rick, just one sec. Rick Allen says, hello from sunny Palm Beach. Don't be jealous for a square inch of the truck paint job. Yeah, so I'm coming out of the Wendy's parking lot. I'm not out of the Wendy's, out of the parking lot where the Wendy's is. I wasn't even moving. I was sitting at the stoplight. It was a T intersection, so I'm sitting at the stoplight waiting for the light to turn. Mm-hmm. And this young fellow, I know he's a young fellow now because I met him, but all I knew is that I was sitting there and suddenly a vehicle comes at like full speed, like 50 or 60 kilometers, I don't know what that is in miles, like 40 miles an hour, into the side of my truck. And then they bounce into the side, like my truck is like this, and then they bounce, they hit it, bam, and then they go bam into the side. Then he just drives down the side and off. And I got out of my truck and I'm like, what are you doing? I like waving my arms around and honking the horn and I just see the vehicle driving off. So I'm like, what just happened? And so I actually had to drive back out on the main road, leaving all my debris and broken car bits all over the ground because I had to go chase this person down.
It wasn't like he drove off.
Well, okay, I'll get to that.
Okay.
So this is what's happening in my mind. I'm like, I can't believe they just drove off.
Because a lot of people thought that too.
Well, he kind of did. I mean, you're taught in driver's training that you stop when you hit somebody. The fact that he kept driving, he drove off. Now, I went back out into the road and back into the parking lot, and I found him parked there looking at his vehicle. And I'm like, dude, what happened? Like, he drove off. He's like, oh, I didn't know I've never been in an accident before. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. So I'm going to give this kid a pass and a benefit of the doubt on that. I don't know if the police will or not. That's up to them. They'll probably give him a stern warning.
into the parking lot that was very close to where that.
True, but you shouldn't leave, because if I
I for
had,
sure would have done the same thing, because it was at it was at an intersection, and if it was
no,
icy or
don't
slippery,
ever do that. Don't ever do that.
what if you guys had gotten out of your vehicle there, and then somebody slid right into you?
Well, then that would have been at fault for that. You never leave the scene of an accident ever. When somebody hits you, you get out, you block the intersection, you get each other's information, and then you go move off to the side if you both agree to it. If I hadn't pulled around and found, like, let's say I was just like, wow, that sucked, and drove off, I would never have known who hit me. You always have to exchange information.
I think
So,
as long as you're safe. Nobody get out in the middle of traffic because of this vlog. I mean, this
I am
is
saying if it seems like it's safe,
Yeah.
you're supposed to exchange information at the site of the crash, and then figure out what you're going to do. If you deem that it's over $2,000 or more, you're supposed to call the police.
Yeah.
And then if you don't think it's that much, you just go through your insurance. But either way, you're not supposed to leave. Somebody said Alex is exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. That's what you're supposed to do. Somebody crashes into you, you stop, you make sure it's safe. If it's safe, you get out of your vehicle, you exchange information, and then if you're like, okay, let's meet over there. But
Yeah.
how it looked for me is that I got hit by a vehicle.
And he wasn't looking for you either.
He was not looking for me. No, he wasn't like driving around looking for me. It's that if I hadn't driven in the parking lot and found him, I wouldn't have known who the heck this person was.
Yeah.
So I found him, got his information stuff. Luckily, he did have insurance and stuff. So that part was okay. Anyway, I took it to the nearest place, or the cheapest place I could think of. And I took it to a Mako to get this, because I would not want to take this truck normally into a Mako to get done. I'd want to take it into more of a restoration type shop that they,
Do a proper job.
well, not that the Mako wouldn't do a proper
But
job,
somebody
I'm sure.
that specializes in. Well,
somebody who
actually, I
does
don't know
older
if they
vehicles,
do.
yeah.
Do they do like older vehicles usually, like the collector ones? I guess I don't know at all.
There are places that specialize in that type of work. Luckily for me, my truck has zero rust, so there's no restoration work to be done. You do have the option to order parts for it brand new, and at any rate, it looks like it is hopefully repairable. But even the cheapest shop in town was almost $6,000, and they said, listen, we don't know, it could possibly be more than $6,000, because we don't know what's happened to the inside. We don't know what's damaged beyond what we see. So anyway, I got my police report done. I got my my inspection done. And I think that the people who hit my vehicle were shocked that it was that much in damage. There was an awful lot of damage done on the vehicle. And I said, well, you saw your son's vehicle was really, really damaged. It was not in any kind of condition to really drive. And they said, yeah, his vehicle's a write-off for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That the front of their vehicle was smashed in, the side of the vehicle was smashed in, the taillight was smashed out, and his mirror, I guess that's where I ended up with a dent on the top of my rear fender, because I'm like, what would have made that? And I guess it would have been his mirror, because his mirror was busted off. But for them to do that much damage to a 1-ton Ford F-350, he was going like full speed into the side of my vehicle. So it was not
Especially a newer
good.
vehicle hitting metal like that. So for anybody to think that it just slid gently across, that's not possible.
No, it was a violent crunch right into my driver's door. So when I woke up the next morning, my neck and my top of I guess my spine was really sore. So I went to the doctor, and I did end up getting whiplash from it. But I don't need a neck brace or anything like that. I just have limited mobility, so I got to go in for I do have to go in for physio or massage or whatever and try and get that done. But I'm waiting for my.
It smashed right into your side of the vehicle. Like, I'm glad that you're okay. Like, that you ended up being in the truck.
This is the thing. I love older vehicles. They're very sturdy, very reliable. If I would have been in like a new Toyota or a new Honda, I don't know. I don't want to get sued by Toyota. If I was in a newer vehicle, any newer, brand new vehicle like a car, I think I'd be in the hospital laid up with all those. When they show in a movie when they've got like a body cast and their legs are suspended by wires and they're drinking like a milkshake through a straw, or worse, it's like squished up eggplant through a straw. That would have been me.
Eggplant, it's already bad enough, but
They're like, you need your vitamins. We're going to give you eggplant. And you're like, oh, and you can't even complain because you can't move your lips because your face is in one of those body cast things. Oh, he likes it. Anyway, I wasn't in a body cast. What I'm getting at, though, is that truck was so durable and so sturdy that it actually took the impact very, very well. The fact that my door even opens at all after being hit at such a speed is a testament to the build quality of the truck. And it did cause a little bit of a ripple in the cab behind the door, which they said is repairable, but it did not dent in any structural part of the body. So I think I should be okay. So I think it'll be repairable. I hope it'll be repairable. Here's the thing though. I was looking, if they decide to write off the vehicle, if they decide that it's a total loss, and I don't think that they will, because other vehicles in the same condition as my truck, there's 2 other trucks in town, only 2 in my area, that have the same miles in same condition as my truck. Because it's very hard to find one with, it only has 40,000 miles on it, and it's got the 460 engine, and it's a bigger, beefier vehicle. Oh, Jody says, so sorry about your truck because the extended cab version that your truck is more rare than the regular cab. Were you able to collect from the young man's insurance the damage? No, we're just waiting for the adjuster to call us, hopefully tomorrow. Yeah. But it is insured as a classic vehicle, and we'll see what the policy covers. I just switched over to Haggerty like 3 days ago. I'm like, hey, I just got insurance with you 3 days ago, and guess what happened? So the truck stood the damage pretty well, but what I was getting at is that to replace it with a similar vehicle, they're actually selling for like $18,000 Canadian for one like that. 18 to 20,000 is what people are asking in my area for a truck in my condition. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that's what it's worth, but when you only have 2 others, like if they said go out and find another one in your area, the only ones that I can find are 16.5, and I think the other guy's asking like 20,500 or something. And that's for the extended cab with 40,000-ish sort of miles on it. But they have smaller engines. They don't even have the same engine mine has. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they say. I'm sure though, because of that they will decide that hopefully they'll opt to repair the vehicle, because I would love to get it back on the road and looking good. But what I will do though is I will pay the extra bucks and I'll just get the whole truck painted, because I don't want to have one side faded original paint and one side. Because the faded original paint actually goes to 2 shades of lighter green, basically, for the dark parts. If I paint it the factory color, which is a really dark emerald green, it's so dark, it's like closer to a dark, really dark, bordering on and getting to blacks. So the factory paint is very dark green, but years of sunlight turned it sort of a light green on a light green. So it's not going to match. And I was trying to explain that. I was like... I won't get into the whole conversation at all about what occurred, because we ended up talking to the father of the son, who thought it wasn't that much damage, is what I'll get to. But they thought it might just buff out. And I'm like, there's no way.
I don't feel like he must have looked at the damage.
No, I said, I don't think you've seen the truck, because it's not going to buff out. One heck of a buffer to buff out an 8-inch depression into a door. Either way, the problem is now that the whole truck has to be painted, but it will be worthwhile to get done, because it is a beautiful old truck. And somebody on the comments was like, why would you bother fixing that old thing? Well, that's the thing. Most people don't understand old vehicles. That is a sweet truck. You'd be surprised. I could be driving, like I've driven Melissa's Volvo around, and never have I had people come up to me at like the gas bar and be like, man, that's a vehicle. You want to sell that to me? Cash right now. I'll buy it from you. Never when you're driving a newer vehicle does that usually happen. But driving that truck, I get followed around by people, and they pull over at the gas station, and they're like, they don't have to go far. I just have to drive from gas station to gas station with that thing. They just have to wait a few minutes, and I'll have to go fill up again. If you're ever following me, it'll be like, well, pretty soon, if I follow Alex long enough, he'll be pulling into a gas station. Anyway. So when I pull into a gas station, I always have people come up to me and they're like, man, that is a sweet truck. You want to sell it? It's a cool truck. I think it's cool. And I love grandpa trucks. I consider that a magical color. The green on green. It's like the Emerald City Wizard of Oz business going on. I don't know. It's just an awesome vehicle. I love grandpa trucks. My grandpa always had like an old Dodge or mainly he had Dodges or Fords, but very good vehicle. So I will want to get that thing fixed and get it looking great again. And I will get it repainted exactly the same colors because they're only original once, or in this case, kind of twice. But if I get it painted, I want it to be the proper colors. At least I'll have pictures and video of it before, so if I ever go to sell it, I'll be like, this is why it got painted. It wasn't rusty. Because once it's painted, people start wondering, what's the paint hiding? They wonder, well, what happened? How bad was the collision? So at least I have it all on camera. I can be like, listen, my door got pushed in. We got a new door shell. We got it repainted. That's what happened with it. So
yeah, that's handy.
it is handy for sure. And I always want to be honest with people that buy a vehicle off me down the road too. Not that I'm planning on selling the truck, but at some point I might.
And then they know exactly. That's the one of the many good things about YouTube is that we have video
of our life.
Yeah, but I mean of the truck showing that there was no damage at all on that side. So there's any damage on that side is from that collision. Plus you can tell it all joins up, like the creases and how it's dented. It's all in one.
Oh, you can see the
line.
smear mark. Plus, the evidence is in every video. As everybody points out at the top end of all of our videos, hi, I'm Alex Archibald. I like to buy and sell things. Look at me go. Anyway, at the beginning of that'll be my new opening. Hi, look at me. I'm doing things.
That's how you think you sound like?
On the on every video, anyway, what I was getting at is that the truck pulls up right in the front shot on the driver's side, and you see that it's in perfect condition down that side. So it'll be like, you can see clearly the truck was good. Yeah. Looks like Kathy Cash is looking for a truck as well. I advise you get an old Ford. They can take a licking and keep on ticking.
That's Timex.
Well, get a Ford that's made of old Timexes then. It'd be the best combination. So I guess I should probably, as it stands right now, I'm waiting for the adjuster to call me about the truck. I went and saw a doctor already. I just have to get the insurance company to hook me up with a place to go get my back taken care of, my neck taken care of. So next week will be a busy week for that. And then I guess I'll get myself booked into a shop to try and get it in and get it fixed. I'm going on a road trip in the truck with Bill tomorrow. That ought to be an experience.
I didn't know if that was happening.
Every time I need to get out, I'm going to have to be like, Bill, get out. I need to scooch past you. Or I'll awkwardly climb over top of him while he's sitting in the passenger seat. Hey, Bill, I'm just oops, sorry. Whoops. Oh, no, I can get out of the vehicle. I can't get back in.
Right.
Yeah.
And you would just be doing it.
I would just be doing it to annoy him. Yeah. Yeah, I should do that. I should crawl. I think Bill's on here. Oh yeah, Bill's on there right now. Bill's laughing. Yeah, Bill and I are going on Bill and Alex's excellent adventure tomorrow. There is a place that we're going to that has a few old vehicles of which I'd love to make an offer on, but the guy doesn't know that he wants to sell them. Well, hopefully he'll know that he wants to sell them after tomorrow. But we're going out to look at some stuff, maybe some antiques, some collectibles, some old cars and things. So we'll try and do a little adventure video of that. So Adventures with Bill coming soon. Bill, I promise I will try not to climb over top of you awkwardly in the vehicle. I think last time we went out, I was going to take him to go get some Ukrainian food, and that never happened. I owe him lunch, I owe Bill more than a lunch. Bill feeds me. Bill works with us now at the shop, and he's always feeding me. He gets German butter cheese for me, which is like my favorite German cheese they make is German butter cheese. It's like a Havarti almost, thinly sliced. So good. So good.
It's like cheese that's also butter.
No, can't spread it. Not that I've tried. I saw you put it on toast. I wonder what sliced cheese on toast would taste like. Probably like half a grilled cheese sandwich.
I was just gonna say, have you ever had grilled cheese?
Like it sounds gross until you realize what a grilled cheese is. And you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty much the same thing. Cheese on bread. Oh my goodness. Oh gosh, darn, that sounds gross. Like, well, take one of them off. You got a grilled cheese.
Melissa's asking if Chewy's been to the new house yet. He hasn't been in the new house because it's a construction site. Last time that we took Chewy out, right before it snowed.
Yeah.
What was he like?
He was like he turned into a little furry torpedo is what he turned into. His ears went flat and he just ran full tilt, and his little doggy legs were nothing but like a blur. But the thing is, when our dog runs, he looks like a hopping bunny from behind because the way his legs move, it just looks like he's hopping really fast. But he was like a little torpedo dog just running full tilt all around.
That entire time, the whole time, until we were like, want to go for a, the C word? And then he was back in the C word.
Are you saying you don't?
Well, I don't want
know
him sitting there barking at the door thinking that we're going
If he thinks we're going if we go moving in a transportation device. Look, we have to outsmart our dog.
We can't even spell anymore because now he knows if I spell.
We taught a dog how to spell in English.
Although he thinks that he doesn't understand fetch at all. He throws us the thing to throw and then barks at us to throw it again. Like, he throws it down the stairs at us.
Every time I think that I can't learn a new language, I think that there's some dog that speaks Portuguese somewhere. Andiamo! And you're like, oh, well, I think, cool. Como estás? Talking to your dog in Portuguese. Tu és muito bonita. I don't know much Portuguese. Anyway, there's animals that speak other languages, so I guess I could figure one out too.
Debbie said butter cheese on Gretchen is buns, right?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, somebody said, oh. I won't read what they said, but yes, that's why I qualified what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Any leads on a bobcat to purchase to clear the snow? I will start looking. I don't have to worry about that until next winter, so I'll probably try and find a little bobcat or skid steer over spring and summer, and that's a better time to have it delivered. Plus, I want to build a little parking pad next to our current garage, like out of gravel, and we have the rock there already.
Next to the garage.
Next on where you'll never see it.
He knows because I'm already thinking like, oh, come on.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll.
Our mouths apparently are moving at different times than.
It depends on where you are.
Oh.
Yeah. But we'll try and find out what to purchase later on. So no leads on that yet. I've been looking, and then you find one that's good, and you're like, right, it's too early for me to buy something like that. Just like I ended up buying this Volkswagen bus, and I really want to start tearing it and fixing it up, but I don't have the space to do it here. So I have to wait patiently, which is very unlike me.
Yeah, I saw you sitting in it yesterday.
Yes, I went and sat in it yesterday, and I imagined I was tootling around in it, and then I realized it needs more work than I thought it did. The dashboard's kind of taken a part of it. But
I was like kind of in behind the house, and I just heard like car noises and. While you're sitting in there.
No, I want it to sound like the absent-minded professor's car. Like I want to sound like it's running on flubber, floating through the air. I saw a truck drove by me the other day, and it was missing its catalytic converter, and it sounded like it was running. You'll have to be pretty old to remember that reference of what flubber is. But there was a really old movie from the 60s, a Disney movie, and he had a car that could fly, and it's made a funny little bubbly sound when it drove. But a truck drove by me the other day, and that made me think of it because it sounded just like it. But I do have plans for the van. I got van plans, but I need space to work on it, and I would like to have a hoist in place. The nice thing is the van's not rusty at all, and that's actually a pretty rare thing for those vehicles, not to find it with rust on it. Okay, that's enough talk about vans and stuff. I'm going to talk about Steve.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about Steve. This is actually, it's fairly big news in your life when you find out you have another sibling. A couple weeks ago, was it a couple weeks ago or a week ago? Maybe it was only a week ago that
it must have been a couple weeks.
I don't know. It feels like a lot longer ago, but I got a notification from one of those DNA sites that I spat in a tube and sent it in because I was curious to know my ancestry. I didn't think I had other siblings out there. My dad said maybe there might be a kid out there somewhere. And in fact, I helped him try and look before he passed away, but we didn't know where to look. But when I put my DNA out there, while my dad was still alive, actually, I put it out there to try and find out, like, how Scottish are we? Which turns out not very Scottish. We're English, Northumberland, and that I carry a lot more of my mom's DNA, which is like Polish, Russian, Ukrainian. Like if I got hit by a bus in Ukraine, they'd be like, local boy gets hit by bus if they did a DNA test on me, because I'm like 80% Eastern European, even though my dad's side is like mainly English and French and German. Anyway, I'm a mutt. Heather says our new brother. Yes, our new brother.
And William asked, why didn't we put at least one urinal in the bathroom at our new house? You don't really see that here, ever.
Urinals in a house? No. Mm-hmm. No, that'd be weird. We wouldn't put a urinal in a house.
But what happens if it's normal where they are?
I don't know. not normal here. It would tank the resale value. So you're like, oh, what a lovely house, and walk in and see a urinal in there. They'd be like, ooh. Or maybe somebody walk in and be like, urinals, free urinal cakes, woohoo! They'd grab it and put it in their pocket on the walkthrough.
We
and be
do
like,
here. We just call it a shower.
oh, gross, Mel. That's TMI. Okay, so we can't transition from having urinal chat. Why did you bring up a message about urinals?
Sorry, it was right underneath Heather's
I'm
message.
trying to just let my heart out here and talk about my new sibling,
Sorry.
and you're putting it down the drain, literally. Yeah.
I saw it. I had to say.
So I found out that I had a new sibling, but so did Heather, which is kind of crazy because now there's 3 of us that have the same parent that did not grow up together at all. So pretty wild. Yeah, so just learned I had another sibling. I mean, my dad he was single. Let's start there. My dad was a teenager. This is around the time he was 18 or 19 years old. He was not married. So for all the people that said, I can't believe you cheated on your mom, they got married like 6 years or so after that. Yeah. It was not, these events occurred in 1970 or 1969 or 70, and my parents didn't get married until 1976. So by the time I got my dad had, he'd sowed his wild oats, and sowed them he did. Wow. All over Great Falls, Montana. So, well, anyway, as it turns out, my dad as a teenager was you have to think of the time. It was the late 60s. There was hippie stuff going around. My dad was a musician, very charismatic guy, could play the guitar, probably was at house parties playing the guitar. And I remember him telling me stories about how the local boys used to get mad when the musicians, when the bands he was in would show up in town, because the girls would be interested in the band, and then the boyfriends would get mad and chase them off with like pitchforks, basically. Throwing bottles and stuff at the stage, and then the band would end up dating the girls afterwards anyway. MP says you're my hero, Melissa.
And why? Because of the shower reference.
Oh man, I'll never look at any of you the same way. So times were definitely different. Free love and peace, and my dad was hitchhiking all over the place. Oddly, around that same time, my dad ran into Charles Manson, which is an unrelated story. And he said the guy was a nut job. He ran into him when he was in California or something, and he's like, yeah, the guy was crazy. I ran into their cult or whatever, and didn't want anything to do with them. Good thing my dad at least had, there was a lot of, what I'm saying is there was a lot of weird stuff going on. And I think it's sort of that you had to be there. I was not there, but I talked to my parents, and when I listened to their stories, where my dad would also say that even in Edmonton, where I live, there was a guy who like grew his hair and beard long and walked around barefoot around our downtown and thought of himself as like a guru sort of guy who had some kind of cult. And that's in like Edmonton, like a farming sort of, city, where some guy was like thinking he was the next Jesus walking around and had women on his arms and stuff like that, which is not usually how Jesus is depicted in pictures. I don't know why people decide to start their own religions and go down that road. Anyway, things were different is what I'm saying. And so my dad was a musician, and he was playing in rock bands and jazz. And so he used to travel with his guitar case, and it would be packed full of all his clothes. My mom said it was so gross, like he'd open up the guitar case and like his laundry was all packed in there somehow. And so that's what he did. He hitchhiked around with a guitar in 1969, 1970. He was a young guy, 18, 19, charismatic, telling stories, making people laugh, playing the guitar. And I'm sure there was probably, more than a few times where somebody kept him company. It was before he met my mom. It was just a different era. And so when we find these stories out later on, it would be more of a controversy if it was to happen today, I think, or if I found out that I had a half sibling or multiple half siblings and they were like 10 years younger than me, I'd be like, uh-oh, that's not good. So I had a chance to chat with Steve a couple times now. And at first he was in shock, like what's going on, and you know, was I lied to, and what's happened, and his world was kind of twist turned upside down. Is that an appropriate time to quote the Fresh Prince of Bel Air? Probably not, but I just did.
And this is the same half brother. He didn't discover another half brother. I mean,
no, not another. I have two. Actually, I have three half siblings.
Yeah.
My mom had a child before she met my dad, and then I grew up with him. And then I found Heather just a couple years ago, and then we found Steve last week. And oh man, sorry, just getting some crazy pains up in my neck. I'm just gonna try and reposition.
Throw in a pillow.
For what?
Your back, so you can.
No, it's my neck. It's my neck that's hurting. I keep forgetting I was in a car crash, and I'm like, why is my neck hurting? Oh, right.
In that,
yeah. So Heather and I found each other, and we chatted, and her side of the story has been like really not great, where her parents like blew a gasket and are denying that the past ever happened. Basically, anyway, it's terrible, and it's terrible from the perspective that I understand you're gonna be upset and have those feelings, but in time, let's move past that and just look at what our new future is, and how we could try and figure all this stuff out. So anyway, Steve went through that for a day or two, and then we chatted and stuff, and he hadn't talked to his mom, and I was chatting with him, and I'm like, just give her a call, and don't let the water settle too long, because it'll be harder to overcome. And so I guess they had a good chat, and they've moved on. He kind of apologized for getting upset, and she's like, I honestly didn't know, and that she didn't know our dad very well, and it was just sort of a casual sort of thing, and it was a different era, like I'm saying here. So their relationship seems to have recovered a bit and bounced back, and hopefully they can move forward with it. I mean, at least now he knows that his biological dad was a professor, a filmmaker, a writer, a musician, a dreamer, lots of wonderful things. And I don't know how much genetics plays, with your makeup. It's funny, like even with Heather and I, when we were sitting on the chair, and people noticed this in the first video when I went to Heather's house and we sat there, both of our feet were doing little twisty turns while we were sitting there. I have, I'm really certain I have restless leg syndrome, which just basically means that you get like, you got to move your legs around because you feel like you got to move them. Heather does the same thing. So I don't know if that runs in the family or what's going on, but Kevin, thank you so much for the super chat. I've not met Steve yet, and Heather hasn't had a chance to meet Steve yet either. Heather was a little under the weather, and Steve has a couple dogs that are more fragile with their health right now, and he didn't want to risk getting his dog sick. So I think they're going to try and meet up maybe next week or something like that. I feel a little bit left out. She says she's fiddling her leg around. She's twisting her foot all around right now. See, and there's things. And I remember the moment that I saw the picture of Heather, I knew that she was related, because she looks so much like the ladies on my dad's side of the family, like my grandma and my aunts. So she just looked
like family.
Full on look like, I'm like, yeah, you
not
totally
like a
look
tiny
related.
bit of a resemblance.
Yeah. I would say that Alyssa, it's so funny. People were saying Heather's daughter Alyssa looks a lot like my mom. Well, they're not related at all. There's no bloodlines there. They're like, oh, she looks just like her grandma. I'm like, well, that might be, but they're not related. But I definitely see, like Alyssa has my dad's nose. She has, I think, similar eyebrows. Like there's a lot of familial similarities. Steve bears more of a resemblance, I would say, to my dad. I don't think we look a lot alike. I don't think Steve and I look alike really much. Maybe if I met him in person, we'd be like, oh yeah, you got the same like, look, you got the same twin on your neck. How's it going? Like, wow. Oh, genetic thing in our family, didn't you know? I mean, like the guy from Total Recall who's like, in his chest, who's like, oh, seek and you will find. Oh. Like, oh, you got that little dude in your chest too? I thought that was just us and the dude on Total Recall. Anyway, so I don't know. I'm sure there'll be things that we find that we have in common. If Steve's watching this, maybe he'll be like, oh my God, I'm related to this guy. I'm sorry for that. I'm very sorry for that. But yes, you are related to this guy. Mm-hmm. But Steve has the same smile as my dad and my grandpa. So when they smile, They have the same, like it makes a triangular big happy face. They have big happy smiley faces. And when I saw his picture, I was like, oh, he's got dad's smile for sure. And my mom looked and she's like, yep, he's got dad's smile. And not many people knew what my dad's face looked like because he had a beard most of his life. But when my dad was clean shaven, I see definitely a similarity between he and Steve. So I'm excited. I have to cool my heels with being an antique dealer though, because talking to Steve sounds like he's collected, and in his own words, hoarded a little bit of crazy cool antiques. He's like, oh, I got buckets of old Hot Wheels. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, stay cool, Alex. This is your new brother. Stay on task here. Don't think about the toys. I got a 70 Dodge Charger. I'm like, what? Okay, stay calm, stay cool. He's got boxes of old concert posters. I'm like, what now? So he's like, yeah, you got to come by and visit. I'm like, I can't visit you at your house because I have to be available as a brother, not as a like, ooh. I can't be like, oh man. But like right off the bat, you know, like we're chatting. And he's like, nobody else in his family likes antiques. And I'm like, well, that runs in the family for sure. That our dad collected records, and he's super into music. Like he loves music, like old 60s music and rock and stuff like that. And our dad did too. Steve collected records when he was a teenager. And my dad collected records as a teenager and as an adult and as a senior citizen. Our dad just collected records the whole time. So I have a couple of my dad's original records that he had, and I want to take him one of my dad's favorite records and give it to him as sort of a memento of our dad, since he never had a chance to meet him. I almost feel like Heather and he are going to meet and talk, but then if he's asking questions about our dad, she's gonna be like, I don't know, I just found this guy a couple years ago. Like, what am I supposed to know? So I feel like I want to be there to help like answer questions, you know, like to be the facilitator, to be the, you know, like well, let me tell you. But I won't be there. They're going to meet first, which I'm super jealous
Well,
about.
they can just meet each other. They don't,
I know they can meet each other.
Just saying, they both
I
have
feel like I'm left out of
to share.
It's some kind of, they are like very similar in age. So I think, you know, they'll have a lot of similar stories. They grew up kind of around the same area, so they'll have some you know, chatting like, do you remember this person or that person kind of thing. But I'm looking forward to meeting him, and he does actually want to go antiquing with me. So maybe I will have a sibling that will go antiquing with me and not feel like they're being dragged around unwillingly. I guess we'll see. But when he's like, yeah, I got a Hemi orange 70 Dodge Charger, I'm like, what? And he's like, I got buckets full of old Hot Wheels. I'm like, what? And it's like, my whole house is full of antiques. It's like, okay, be cool. Be cool. You're not there to look at the cool stuff. You're there to meet the man.
Heather said she loves going with you.
Oh, okay. You say that. Mind you, Heather is a trooper, though. Heather had a thing. We'd go to a store. I'd look at everything and come out with armloads of stuff, and she'd be looking at cookbooks. And we've sent her a couple antique cookbooks before.
Alexander saw it on the counter because I needed to wrap it up and send it to Heather. And I had a blank card still, like, ready to fill out. And I said, where's the card and everything? I mailed it off. So a cookbook shows up and a blank birthday card. Was it a birthday card? Was it for birthday? Oh, I can't remember if that was for Alyssa or Heather. Either way, it was empty.
What does Nikki say? Nicole Grant says, I'd go on a pick, but don't know what I'd pick, but I'd find something. Nikki, I would take you out antiquing with me. We go garage sailing. You and me and Melissa can go garage sailing this summer, and we'll see what we come back with. And I'm smarter now. Since I've done the Potter's house and Betty Jones' house clear, I know to look for things like Pyrex. And
not me. I'd end up with a bunch of stuff. I already know.
Rick Allen says he had a very similar accident, and they said I had whiplash within a year. I needed cervical spine fusion surgery.
Oh my gosh.
It's not uncommon. Don't let them write it off too soon. Well, aren't you a ray of sunshine, Rick Allen? Thanks for the $10 super chat.
But that's horrible that you had to go through that.
Yeah, Steve, after we chatted, Steve did not know that I had a YouTube channel. And so we were chatting. He knows now. Yeah, and I told him we had a YouTube channel because there's videos of our dad on there. So I'm like, if you want to see what your dad was like, I posted the videos of our dad when he was on his TV show, like being goofy. I like my dad in a tutu, like smoking a cigar. Hey, here's a video of your dad in the 80s, you know, pretending he's a crybaby biker and stuff. Anyway, so I sent him that. He you get a good sense of what my dad was like from those videos, because our dad was both really zany and crazy and had a good sense of humor, but also like this scholarly sort of professor. And so there was a video of him being interviewed by the BBC, and then there was a video of him being just goofy on his own TV show that he had back in the 80s, which are both posted on my YouTube channel. If you want to go back there and look through our backlog of over 600 videos, if you can find it, good on you. It's in there somewhere. But it's good that I posted that stuff, that now when these new siblings show up, I don't know how many more there are going to be, but anytime, every year from now on that I find a new sibling, you know, when all the other siblings eventually we find each other, I'll be like, yep, don't worry, I got this, guys. I am documenting it all.
Do you think Steve is watching now?
I don't know if Steve's watching now or not. He might be. It's Sunday. I don't think he's at work or anything like that, so he might be.
He's like, don't call me out.
Sherry says she's watched every single video on YouTube. That would be a feat and a half, because there are like over 600 videos on YouTube. We have quite the backlog of stuff, but you can create a new sibling playlist. Hey, here's a play. If you want to meet all my siblings that I found in the last couple of years through DNA, there you go. Go check out the playlist. Yeah, so for at least the nice thing is Heather and I have this in common, that we both found a new sibling. And now it's like I'm not, but I'm still the only one that grew up with our dad. So I have that. Like my other brother that I grew up with is not related to my dad. My dad adopted him with my mom. He was my mom's kid. Anyway, long story.
He didn't adopt your mom.
No, my dad married my mom, who had a kid, and then I think at the time you had to adopt the person's kid to make them your kid. And anyway, he did all that. My dad really enjoyed being a parent, and he would have loved to have had a chance to meet his son and his daughter, which he didn't get a chance to. And so for my dad's legacy, I want to do my best to try and let them know what type of person he was, and try and carry on some of that spirit with them, so that they'll know or have that sense of closure of, you know, like they had dads that raised them, and that is your dad. That's your parent, the person who raises you. But it's kind of interesting to know who genetically the person was that contributed to who you are, I guess. You know, the way your smile looks, or maybe the way your foot wiggles around, or, you know, all those little things are genetic. And, you know, already knowing Heather the way I know her, she and our grandma would have been best of buds, I'm sure. They had such similar personalities, just, you know, and Heather is just a very loving, caring person who wants nothing more than for the people around her to do well and be well. And she carries a lot of, she puts a lot on her shoulders, other people's stuff on her shoulders, to try and carry it and help them out. My grandma would have been the same way, just always want to make sure everybody's okay and looked after and stuff. My grandma also baked an inordinate amount of pies for whatever reason. Hey, Grandma, I'm going to come over for coffee. Good, I'll bake 7 pies. Like, why? Well, what if you want to try a piece of each? I'm like, I don't need 7 pieces of pie, Grandma. That's just not healthy. But she did every time. She just, like, I don't know what it was. Like, she just was a baking machine in like a 1950s sort of bungalow ranch house that they had. And that lady just baked up a storm. And so you'd sit there and you'd have a coffee, and I didn't drink coffee, but the grown-ups would sit there and have coffee and pie. That was the thing that they did. And my dad was like a big kid. Whenever he went back to go visit his mom, the first thing he'd do is he'd go in the kitchen and look and see what was on the counter, like, ooh, is there an apple pie here, Mom? Yes, I know you like your apple pie, Don, so I made you an apple pie. Did you make maple fudge? Yes, I made. And my mom would be like, oh, brother, Don. Donald. What? I like my mom's fudge. Oh, man. Yeah, so anyway, I think of all these little stories all the time, and I feel like it's definitely my responsibility to help with my siblings to try and fill in those gaps so they kind of know what it was like. And for Steve's backstory, I kind of wish he would have had an opportunity to meet our side of the family earlier. But things worked out the way they worked out, and they are the way they are, and I'm looking forward to going down, hopefully, to Colorado soon to meet him and to see Heather. Mind you, I think Heather's going to come up here sooner, though. She wants to come kind of around your birthday.
That means it's around her birthday.
Yeah, Heather's birthday and Melissa's birthday are very close together.
We're days apart.
Days apart, 25th and 28th, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I know yours.
He says that, but there was a time when we were dating where he's like, I know when your birthday is, April 26th, and I thought he was teasing me. He was not. He was not.
Yeah.
It was close.
I'm terrible. It's not that it had nothing to do with you. It's just I'm just terrible with dates.
That was a really long time ago.
It wasn't recently.
It wasn't yesterday. So,
No.
No.
It was early in our relationship.
Over 18 years ago.
And you can see that Melissa's great at forgiving.
I'm still here. Look at
Man, it's good to keep those things in your back pocket to just occasionally throw your husband in the doghouse for something that happened 20 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Remember a weekend of dating when you didn't remember my birthday? Outside. Get.
So one time, Alexander, I sent him a birthday cake because, I mean, it was a dry cake. I thought I was being funny and nice because he said, I don't even get a birthday cake this year. And I thought, oh no. So, but the postal service, somehow it got to him with a hole all the way through the package, like through the cake box. So, yep, that happened.
Yeah, maybe they were testing for drugs or something.
Stabbed through
They
the cake
stab
box.
like when you see in the movies when the guy like cuts out into a big bag of drugs and then they put a little on the pinky. Maybe he cut into like the package of
Like,
cake mix. And he's like,
cocoa.
devil's food cake. All right, it's a pass.
Probably was devil's food cake.
Maybe that's what it was. Okay, I have to. I'm clarifying for somebody who doesn't understand the whole. I'm going to clarify this once and for all if I haven't been clear enough already about how this whole situation with multiple siblings and who raised who and stuff is happening.
What a boy and a girl.
Ha!
I'm gonna get some water.
Ha! Now that she's gone, I'm going to do things on her computer. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Deb says her dad said husbands are a sorry lot. Yes, it's better to be sorry, I guess. Okay, my mom and dad met in 1976. When my mom and dad met, my mom had a little boy that she had previously, years before. And my dad adopted and took on my brother, and I was raised with that brother my entire childhood. So for me, I was raised with my dad, and with my biological dad and biological mom, I got raised by both of them. And I decided several years ago to do a DNA test because I want to learn about my ancestry. So I spit in a tube, mailed it in. When my dad was still alive, this happened. He died shortly after I got the results. In fact, I think he passed away probably only a month or so before Heather did her test. Sometime in 1969 or 70, I guess 1970 it would have been, my dad made a trip to Hawaii. He wanted to go live on the beach. He wanted to play guitar, and he got a job driving brand new Mustang convertibles off of the ships to the dealership. And he ended up finding an apartment, and he lived out in Hawaii for like, I don't know, a year or something like that. And this is, during the time of the Vietnam War. So he was Canadian, so he was not enlisted. He was there playing guitar, living a life in Hawaii, and just probably having a good old time. He came back to Canada, and I don't know the details of whether it was he was on his way to Hawaii or whether he was on his way back from Hawaii, and he hitchhiked across the USA, stopping and hanging out with fellow musicians and meeting people and just basically partying his whole way across the United States and up through Canada. At some point he made a stop in Great Falls, Montana in 1970, and he met Steve's mom and Heather's mom within about a month or so of each other. And they clearly hit it off, at least for a day. And he came back to Canada. And for his whole entire life, he did not know that he had other kids out there until maybe the last couple years of his life, where somebody tipped him off or somebody said something like, I think you have a kid out there. Mm-hmm. Specifically, he thought he had a daughter. And he spent time trying to think like, well, who would this have been? Who would I have had a daughter with? Like, I don't know who this is. And he started contacting old girlfriends from around here. And he never once thought about reaching out to anybody in Montana because he didn't know or remember or have any clue. But he did actually place ads in the paper and went on those websites of looking for lost siblings or parents and stuff to see. And he talked to people trying to figure out if he was their dad, and it turned out they weren't. So my dad passed, sadly, about a month before the DNA results got put in by Heather. Had things been a little different, She would have been able to meet him, but was so close. Anyway, so Heather was raised by her mom and dad. Heather thought that Heather's dad that raised her was the biological dad. That's what we understand. And so they were married, and they raised Heather as their own, and she had a mom and dad that was her mom and dad. And they had another son, and they had their family, and it wasn't really, everything was more or less hunky-dory with their family until they found out that Heather had a different dad. So that created some dark challenges in their family, which they've still not recovered from. With Steve's incident, the mom wasn't quite sure, I think, who the dad was, but thought it was this fellow who'd passed away and who'd been murdered, as I mentioned before. And she put him up for adoption. He was adopted and raised by somebody else. He met his biological mom when he was 18 or so, and thought that his dad was this fellow that had been murdered. And so he did actually think, geez, my real dad was a murder victim, and probably set him off on a very different course than if he just would have figured out his dad was still alive and was just like a writer and musician and filmmaker up in Canada. But he didn't know, and the mom, what we understand is the mom thought that the other guy was the dad, and there was a bit of a mix-up there, so to speak. So neither of them got to meet my dad. I'm the only one who got to know my dad out of the three of us. And Heather still has a mom and dad. They're around, but are not talking to her just yet. Hopefully, if they watch this, I don't know if they are or not, but it'd be nice if you guys could figure things out, but that's not for me to say. I can be hopeful, but I know you guys are gonna have to be the ones that decide whether this is important enough to you or not. Should be. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Steve, being raised by somebody else for 18 years and then meeting his mom later in life, got to know his biological mom and talks to her fairly regularly, and they got over this hiccup fairly quickly. I think because he'd been adopted and they knew that part of the life was complicated, I think they were able to recover a little quicker. So hopefully that's clear for you guys. I was raised by my dad and my mom. Heather was raised by her biological mom and the person she thought was her biological dad. And Steve was raised by adopted mom and dad, and later met his biological mom, and sadly never got to meet my dad. So anyway, that's how that all panned out. And I keep thinking, my mom and dad didn't get married till 1976. And if my dad was out there living a, let's say, active lifestyle for 6 or 7 years, if that all happened in a month, how many other kids are going to show up?
My guess, 3 more.
Oh, you guys want to place early bets on this? On how many more? Oh my goodness. So I'm just, that's what's going through my head is like, holy cripes, how many more kids are out there? Like, not that not that it wouldn't be neat to meet new family,
But we have a bigger house.
Yeah. But I'm thinking, okay, that happened in a period of like a month. So my dad was not married until, 6 years after that, living that kind of lifestyle. Let's see, he averaged 2 kids a month for 6 years.
Oh my goodness. Let's not do the math.
Let's do the math on that. 2 kids a month for 6 years. So that's 24 kids a year for 6 years. That's like 100.5 kids floating around out there.
You laugh not really knowing.
Based on the mathematical equation, Peabody and Sherman say.
Oh my gosh.
You, Mel, and Potter's House kept my mind busy while I had 3 surgeries to save my kidneys. I remember your kindness when I mentioned it. Oh, well, Tree Sprite, we're so glad. Hopefully you're doing well. I appreciate you sending the super chat. And, our thoughts and wishes, of course, all with you that you're having, that you're recovering well and your kidneys are doing well. Our friend Nikki says, find them in Hawaii. I would be okay if we get one more sibling. May they be a landowner with beachfront property in Hawaii.
That's excited to see us.
I'm going to start picking things out of the hat here. Heather's a great cook and just lovely to spend time with. Steve seems like he likes antiquing and has a cool car. This next sibling needs to be a vacation destination. So if I have my pick, if I had to choose
oh my goodness.
my next sibling, they will have beachfront property in Hawaii. And they'll be like, Why, yes. I wonder if it'll be a guy or girl. I don't know. I like to think it's Ricardo Montalban, who's like got the white shirt unbuttoned with like a bronze tan and like a Panama hat, who's like,
Oh my goodness.
stay at my palais on the beach. You are welcome to stay as long as you like.
Dude, it sounds like the Count.
And then the little guy comes out and he's like, the plane. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? No, I think, no, I don't think I want it to be Fantasy Island, because I don't think that turned out very well for them. But I do want it to be, like I have a say. Like I have a say. Listen, it is possible there's another kid out there in Hawaii somewhere. We'll see as these people get to be, you know, as those DNA kits go on sale around Christmas time, more and more people are spitting in tubes.
Sure, I think that's when we bought ours too, around Christmas, didn't we?
Well, hey,
we got one for Dad too.
I'm not the only one who has mystery relatives popping up too, because Melissa's dad was adopted, and we're finding like mystery relatives coming out of the woodwork from
Well,
there
it's because he's adopted. He didn't know his. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows my dad's biological father, but it sounds like a lot of people knew him. He had many children, and nobody knows.
Your
who
grandpa
he is.
was a Rolling Stone like my dad.
Grandpa.
Yeah.
And nobody knows. Not even his children know who he is. So that's.
Yeah, that's quite a situation.
But I did meet one of my cousins off of my dad's side through Ancestry. She's fantastic. So I'm super, super lucky that we ended up doing the...
Super nice people.
Yeah.
No, it's just life the way it goes, right? Kathleen says, what color are you going to paint the truck? The same exact color it was meant to be brand new. Dark emerald green with light green inset coves or detail.
We did Ancestry and 23andMe.
Yeah, now come to think of it now, like that's pretty much just saying, you know, but then this is recent history, right? Like this is recent history. Mm-hmm. But think of maybe you have a great grandparent or a great grandma or something that isn't actually, you know, I guess they'd be related to you, but maybe they weren't related to their parents. And then you're, you know, when you're like, yes, my family goes back to the Windsors. We have royal blood. And you're like, no, you were a stable hands kid. Yeah. You're like, who told you that? Horse heap.
I know, but there's a lot of things that even we thought, like we only live by the stories that we're told, really, that are passed down from what they were told. And most of us that have done Ancestry and 23andMe and all of that, we found out that that's not true. And plus you have different amounts of DNA that you take on from each parent. So
yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
But that means, so Heather and I were planning a trip to Northumberland to go and see where our family came from. So we'll have to see if Steve could be included somehow in that in some way. But we'd like to, I don't know, I wouldn't mind making a holiday or a trip over to England. And roots are important to me. Family's important to me. So yeah, it's been quite the year so far. What's happened so far this year? Sold the Potter's house, found a sibling, getting a house built, got in a car accident. Is it even the end of January yet?
No. 23.
1 month in, and like 4 major life-changing things have been occurring around me.
Yeah.
Oh, we got an auction sale happening right now too. I always think like I need to plug these auctions when they happen, because if I don't mention it, people don't go and look. So there you go. There's an auction happening, kauctions.ca. Look for the Curiosity Sale, which is ending February 5th. There's all kinds of neat stuff and collectibles that you may have seen on our show, and they'll mail it out to you all over the place. There we go. I've done my part to promote myself.
We still have a week left in January. I wonder what's going to happen for the rest of January. This has been a busy, crazy beginning of a year so far. I mean, almost every beginning of a year starts kind of crazy, because we found Betty Jones' place beginning of last year, right? Was that last year?
I'm still
I don't remember.
I'm still holding out that a couple of these. Oh, I'm going to a really cool place on next weekend, but the guy has really neat stuff. I don't know that I'll be able to get it at a price I can afford, but I'm not even going to say what it is, because the stuff is so cool. In terms of like pop culture collectibles, it's like the echelon, the podium of collectibles this guy has. It's going to make a really neat episode. It'll be kind of like when I went to Tom the Toy Man's place. Which incidentally, Tom came into my store, the Corvette guy, who I went to his house, and he kind of said like, you know, I wouldn't mind if you called me Tom the Toy Man. How does that sound? I'm like, okay, because he wanted a Bob the Bottle Man type thing. So I'm like, Tom the Toy Man. Okay, that could work out. But I said, what if you saw your collection? Then you're going to be Tom the guy who has several old cars. You'll be Tom the several classic car man. But he's like, well, I am Tom the Toy Man. I'm like, okay, Tom the Toy Man it is. It'll be like a visit when I went to Tom the Toy Man's place. Maybe I'll have a chance to buy a couple things here. We'll see.
You know, it's funny. I think I saw Randy saying we don't have to ever worry about content. I was doing a book club last night by Zoom, and they said, "How do you keep track of like which videos go out and planning them?" That's not how it works for us. Alexander seriously gets called up, and they're like, "Hey, we have this collection," or somebody recommends somebody. You want to come see it? So ours is very much real life. What's happening? So I mean, you're very good at filming and getting it out right away, so that everybody can enjoy it more as we're having it happen to us. You're also experiencing it with us, or I'm terrible at that, which you know. But we don't have to plan things in advance because as the adventures are happening, Alexander is sharing them with you. So
I just kind of film as I go, as
but I
stuff is going on.
I think that's important though too, because then it's authentic. You're experiencing what we're actually having happen in our lives, like what's happening at the store and in our lives, rather than planning it out in advance, which works for some people, but I like that we have it the way that we do.
You think end of the year we'll have Hawaiian siblings show up?
Are you still thinking about that?
I bet by the...
I want to go to Hawaii, you guys. I don't like winter at all, and yet I live in winter. That's right. It's beautiful today, but I mean we finally get a break and it's warm, and we get ice rain. So then it's like the scariest drive of your life, a couple blocks. It's terrifying. I'm good.
It's been nuts.
I cannot wait to. And Hawaii has a different way of life. Like you have. It's like everything you can just exhale, all of your problems and all of your stress all at once as you're stepping off that plane and smell the flowers. Oh man.
Yeah, it's different when you're in Hawaii. You're like, most shirts have buttons that go all the way to the top. In Canada, maybe the first button will be undone. In Hawaii, you might do like that very bottom button up. You're like, that's good enough.
It was very much, and I mean, and it's so warm. Nobody cares what clothes you're wearing. I mean, they don't care here either, but I mean, you are mostly naked because you have a swimsuit underneath and you're going to be in the ocean for the majority of the time you're there. So,
it's so funny. When we were there was a guy driving an old MGB convertible, and it looked like it hadn't had a top on it in like 50 years. Like there was no top left whatsoever, and the interior was basically just like springs with a towel over top of it. And some really tan guy with long hair, like when a guy gets really really tan and their hair gets long but they're balding but they don't want to admit it, so they just grow all the rest out long. He was like the world's oldest hippie with long hair. Gets out of that car and I'm like, you know what, that guy's living the life. Not only does he not need a roof on his car or upholstery in his car, he didn't even need a shirt on his body, and he's just like, I'm going into town. And that's like, okay, he's just doing his thing. So it was a really cool place to go visit, and I don't know, we'd like to go back at some point. But hopefully when the world settles down, we can do a little bit more travel. My next visit though does have to be to Colorado because there's family there. But I think Heather might be coming here before. So we'll see.
I can't even wait just to see my mom, and she just lives like not that far from here. That's my next holiday, down the road to go see my mom.
But so I guess we'll see what this year brings. I mean, listing our house, moving into a new house, that should be enough for most people to do in a year. And like, what'd you do this year? This is the year we moved into our home.
And people are like, we want to see your plans for the garden. The truth is that my day starts with like, what can I clean to make sure this is ready to be photographed in a week?
Yeah.
What do I need to do for when people walk through my house? And then I still have preschool and regular life. I'm planning that eventually a garden's going to happen, and I might throw some seeds in there, but I appreciate that people think I have my act together.
Oh, incidentally, I see some comments there. If you ever have something that you'd like to sell me on this channel, you can send me emails or pictures to curiosityedmonton@gmail.com. That's CURIOSITY Edmonton@gmail.com. You can email me there. Here's the things that I'm always looking for. I'm always looking for cool old toys, old comic books, good wristwatches, like high-end wristwatches too. New siblings. I'm not looking to buy new siblings.
Buy.
I am looking for, military items, old military medals, things like that. I like the small sort of showcase type stuff. Really cool and unusual old fountain pens. I'm looking for like nice fountain pens. If it's cool, if it's neat, if it's something really special that you haven't seen before. The other thing I'm trying to find right now is old motorcycles. I'm trying to find old British or old American motorcycles, like pre-1974 sort of era. Well, and Hondas, like an early 70s Honda CB750 or Harleys, Nortons, BSAs, etc. I'm looking for bikes to have in the store because the one thing I miss about our old location, I know there's not much that I miss about our old location, but I do miss the fact that I used to have a nice row of motorcycles in there at all time, and I haven't had that lately. So I want to bring that back. I want to have that at the new store. So I'm going to start looking for more bikes. So always looking for stuff. If you got old Redline Hot Wheels or old toys or things like that, email me and I'd love to see what you guys have for sale. I've purchased many things off of many of you out there. Shipping is very easy and I generally pay for the shipping on this stuff, so it works out pretty well. So guys, with that, it's been 74 minutes of live chat. Who's gonna watch this thing after this? Who's gonna be like, oh, I got 74 minutes to kill? Maybe they'll be washing dishes or doing something, and they can just leave us on in the background.
Yeah, the worst is when you are like watching something that for a while and your hands are all wet and you're there until you've done those dishes.
Pretty much. But guys, have a lovely day. Always a pleasure to chat with you and to chat with you all and see your lovely comments. For me, I am going to just take whatever the world throws at me and just see where this year takes us. It should be interesting. It's already started off with a bang and it's not even the end of January. I can only imagine what's going to happen by the end of this year. So you guys have a wonderful day. We'll see you all soon and bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.